Good evening, folks. We have the E-flite Draco 2.0. Check it out. This is a big one. It's got some weight to it. This is not your average plane, but super scale. We'll come on in and show you the cockpit area and under the cowling. Look at that big motor in there. It's got a big brushless 400 kV, but look how big around it is. You'll notice this evening I'm running on a 7000 Spectrum 7000 6S. I believe it's only a 30C. So the more punch you want, like for jets and things like that, you'll want a higher C rating, but this is just a 30C that I had. I'm not sure what they recommend on it. I know a lot of people fly it on a 5000. This actually seems to fly fairly well on a 7000. Notice a little bit of weight, but we've got a gusty wind this evening, slight crosswinds. So it works out better to have a little bit of weight. It's kind of in your favor so you don't get tossed around with the wind. Really cool plastic chrome exhaust. I like how the hatch goes on. And it's got scale details like little steps down the sides. Look at the suspension on this thing. Check it out. It's got suspension, little shocks in there like a rock crawler. So it definitely absorbs any little bumps in the grass runway. We have a paved runway this evening we could use, but I really enjoy flying the bush planes off of grass. So you'll notice the scale dash. There's little joysticks in there or yokes. Maybe later on we'll get a video when it's dark so you can see the illuminated dash. This is the only airplane I know of that has the illuminated dash. So super cool, super scale. It's loaded with lights. I have flown it when it's pitch black out. It doesn't light up like a night radiant or anything like that. It doesn't glow, but it's definitely enjoyable to look at. Very pleasing to the eye, very scale detail. I think the only thing that's not very scale about this is the action figure inside. Mr. Patey, he's better looking than the little plastic figure inside, so that doesn't do it justice, but definitely enjoy the plane. There's with safe off. Look at the throw in those ailerons, and in the elevator and the rudder. It's got a couple springs on the rudder for the nose wheel. It's a bush plane, so it's got some shocks back there in the back on the tail wheel, but also it's got springs on it. So some people complain about that, but if you wire those up or connect those, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but if you just have like steel rods connecting that wheel to the rudder control, then if you hit something, you bump something, it hits a little pothole in the grass while you're landing or turning or crabbing and it catches, then you're going to tear something up. But it's got the little springs in there, so when you turn, you lose a little bit of that authority. As you can see, the tail wheel turns good when it doesn't have any weight on it, but once you drop it in and it's got the weight of the airplane sitting on it, it doesn't turn super well. So just keep that in mind when you taxi. I don't think it needs modified. I think it's just one of those things that you just want to keep in mind. I'll show you real quick how the wings come apart. I really like this feature. I wish they would do it on more E-flite planes. You've got these two little screws or tabs on each side. There's one in the front and the back on the right, one in the front and the back on the left. These are just quarter turn tabs, sort of like the 2-meter Optera. You turn these tabs, you pull them out, and they should pull right out. These I had to sand them a little bit because if they have mold marks on them, it'll jam when you get them in there, so it make life difficult. Just wiggle it slightly. As you give some outward pressure, it pulls right off. Look at the quick plug on there, like servo plugs. They got the little plastic pins to guide it in. And a super cool design. I mean, you got your wing spar. I'm not going to take that out because we got the other wing hanging on it, but very scale. Got some antennas, more lights under here. And then you'll notice these little, I don't know if they're called little skid bars, but little carbon fiber skid bars, little wires. So if you're taxiing and there's some wind and you put the wing down, you're not going to drag your wingtip. So very cool. Some scale details there, some instruments and weights. Comes with the leading edge slats on it, which helps bleed off some air. And just hold a little pressure. You want to watch this little crack here and make sure that that crack is pretty much non-existent. That's how you know you got it in all the way. So if you don't have that gap out of there, if you don't have your wings pushed in all the way, these little quarter turn pins can be a real headache to try to get in there the way they're supposed to be. So, all right, there's not much else to show you other than just getting it up and flying it. I'm running on the NX8 today. It's my old trusty radio. I like the telemetry in this, especially if you're using a smart battery. I've flown it with the HRB 5000s. It flies really well, but 7000 is one of my favorites. So notice the nav lights. You got nav lights, and I think I have it on a switch here. See, there's one on the rudder, the nav lights, and then there's some facing out the back. I don't know if she can go around the side. There's one just over the back window you can turn on and off. I'm toggling that on with another channel on my radio. And very cool. So you can run it with the lights on, run it with the lights all the way up. And save a little. They're LEDs. I don't think they're going to draw much battery. So let's see. Throttle cut off. There's forward thrust. There's reverse thrust. And we'll show you a little more of that later on in the video. So, okay. I forgot to check something. You can check it on the telemetry on your radio. But I also wanted to point out, if you don't have this feature, carry in your back pocket a couple cell checkers. I have the Spectrum XBC 100 smart checker. You can plug it in the smart terminal, or you can plug it in your balance lead. There's also servo checker and stuff in there. Another one that I really like is this one is made by Traxxas, and I know some other companies make it, but I like it because it's compact. It just has the balance port on there, and it'll just show you the voltage for each cell. I've tried to get into practice of that. We did check things before we turned the camera on. We had the battery all plugged in when the camera started rolling. But it is a good habit to do a cell check before you take off. I don't know how many times I've done my due diligence and checked it with a cell checker after I had it set up in the plane. And once I get it set up, I find that I accidentally grabbed up the wrong battery. So might save from crashing an airplane on a dead battery and just throwing the cell checker on it. So there's full flaps, half flaps, no flaps. We'll taxi it down here. The sun's starting to go down. A little breeze might pick up. I do have safe programmed in. It's just a nice feature to have. Just let you listen to it taking off. It sounds really close. I've seen some people get disappointed with the Draco when they find out it's really not a 3D plane. I'm not sure it was ever designed or engineered or advertised to be a 3D plane. I have hovered this before. I don't know if we'll do that on camera or not. It's probably hard on the engine. It is a heavy plane. It's heavier than normal. But anytime you're going to have a plane with a lot of scale detail, a lot of plastic windows, plastic dash, plastic or rubber figure inside, it is going to add weight to it. So this really shines as a scale model, and this is probably one of the most scale detailed models that you can purchase as a bind and fly or something that's already ready to go from Horizon. We'll do a low pass. It's kind of low and slow. I'm still running full flaps. And you'll notice it bobs around a little bit in the wind. Part of that is because of a little cross breeze. And the other part of it is just a bit of characteristic. So when you really slow down, it's got a heavy wing. I don't know all the technical or scientific terms behind that, but it's not a lightweight aircraft. So it's nice on those days when it's a little more breezy. You can punch through the wind and it handles better, especially with the 7000. But it is going to bob around a little bit. So just expect that. Don't get disappointed if you see it, rock from side to side slightly. Very cool. I like to do a pass, a low pass, or a flyby, and have those clear windows be able to look plumb through the aircraft as it passes by. Really enjoy that. Again, this was designed and really shines as a scale model. If you're expecting much more than that, you might be disappointed. You can squeeze some other features out of it, but that's mostly what it's for. I enjoy doing touch and goes and flybys, see if we can get a touch and go in there. I will say the landing gear being springy, the shocks that it has, does give it a tendency to bounce. As you can see there, it bounces a little bit. And that's just part of it. I think it could be modified. You could probably put some stiffer shocks in it, or maybe something softer. But RC aircrafts that have real springy gear will bounce pretty easy on you. So still running full flaps. We'll try to do another touch and go, and then we'll give you a speed pass. Turn the lights on. Nice touch and go. Those big bush tires really like the grass. We'll make a left final and pull the flaps off. No flaps. Do a speed pass. Really like the brakes to be able to stop the prop while you're flying. We'll show you a little bit about some of its aerobatic skill, or capabilities rather. So we can do a loop. And it'll do a lot tighter loop, but you don't want to pull it too hard. It is a scale model and it does have a lot of extra weight. We'll fly right over, see if you can see the lights underneath. Oh yeah. I do enjoy airplanes with reverse thrust, whether it's the 90mm Viper EDF or the ultra slow stick or slow ultra stick. I always get the names confused there. But the Draco is no exception. I know they didn't design reverse thrusting for using in flight, but hey, why not? It's probably not one of those things you should do unless you know which switch is which and you're kind of familiar with it. But we'll get some altitude here and drop in, see if I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, full flaps and reverse thrust. And then you pull out of it. Be sure to flip your switch back over. Some people like to put it on a momentary switch. That really works good. Take it out of flaps. Let's do a roll for you. Pretty fast roll. It's obviously out of safe. I'll do full flaps and then I'll get right at bias and then do a climb and try to go straight up. Show you the power it has. Okay, out of the flaps and full throttle. Almost unlimited vertical. The weight begins to catch up with it after a while. But do keep in mind, this is all with a Spectrum 7000 milliamp battery. So you put a 5000 or trim it out with a 4000 and it's going to handle a lot lighter. Might turn it, see if we can hover it. It's doing it, but doesn't like it. Again, that's with the 7000, so 4000 it flies a lot lighter weight. I have flown on a 4000. You almost need to trim out the elevator a little bit different. So I don't know what our time is on our video here. Okay, well, let's bring it in. We don't want to make the video too long. We still have plenty of battery life. We'll show you that here in a minute. A little bit of wind there. Bugs are coming out. Taxis really well in the grass. See what I'm talking about? Watch the rudder. As soon as I turn it, it takes just a second to get the ground effect. But as long as you're rolling, the faster you're rolling, the easier the tail wheel will turn. All right, I think that's good for now. And then maybe we'll throw in a short clip or do a separate video once it gets a little darker. So here's our battery voltage. I'm going to go ahead and put our throttle cut on. There's our battery voltage, 22.9 or 23, just jumped up there, so not too bad. There's your temperature, so it's a little warm. Whenever you hammer it and do some crazy stuff with it, it is going to get warm, so that's just part of it. When you reach under here, watch out for those antennas, but just kind of put it in size proportion here for you. So anyway, there it is. Hope you enjoyed it. There's the E-flite Draco 2.0, and thanks for watching. Take a second to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.